Hey everyone, Just Any Game, Tano here, internet's busiest rap battle fan, and it's been a while since I've done something with this channel. I've been pretty inactive with it, and I want to start being more active with it again during this upcoming time. But before I do that, what I kind of want to do more is I kind of want to go back and do a redux of every score that I've given so far. This is because I feel like, as with all things age, standards change, and I want to go forward with these reviews being as honest with my scores as possible, keeping kind of a consistent line of scores, kind of judging things on a fair scale. And so to do that, what I hope to do is go back to every battle I reviewed in order, kind of look at my score, and give a kind of mini version of my change thoughts, if there are any, and a new score that I would give to it. Starting off with Power of Dance, Ben Shapiro versus Talking Ben. My thoughts on this battle haven't changed all too much, honestly. I still think that a lot of the strengths and weaknesses I talked about at the time still apply in terms of Dan's editing ability being pretty good, and the lines having, some pretty funny stuff, and the performances being pretty solid. But the main thing I've kind of changed my thought, and the main thing I've thought about in terms of that battle that would probably lead to a lower score is the beat. I think that the beat is something that doesn't quite fit either character, and is too much of a low kind of chill vibe for two characters that have very goofy potential, such as Talking Ben and Ben Shapiro. It ultimately seems to me like just kind of a, I don't know if flaccid's the right word, attempt at this kind of battle, and I think a lot more could have been done with the matchup. That being said, everything in it is still pretty solid, so overall, I'm still gonna keep it at a strong 5 to a light 6. Next up is Polybius versus Polybius. Again, not a lot of my thoughts have changed, just kind of they've been emphasized since that time, especially about the length of the lines and the length of this battle in general. This battle runs on pretty long, and it definitely makes you feel that length at times. Obviously, there's stuff to mention about the low-key, and the Polybius square, all that kind of stuff with the lines, but that we've already discussed in the review, and I actually recommend that you go back and watch all the reviews, as much as, my kind of camera presence and editing and all that has gotten better over time. The only thing that I think kind of bounces back for this battle is the beat, honestly. I mean, I'm a sucker for Maniac, and it's something that, to me, as time goes on, becomes more ironically viable. But especially in this age of battles, where SoundCloud only and audio onlys just don't have that same kind of punch, something like Polybius versus Polybius really feels that hit. I'm docking my score from a light 4 to a strong 3. Next up is my review for Eddie's Light versus Monika. And at the time, I was really pushing for this battle. I really loved it at the time. It was viewed as an absolute masterpiece. And it still is, I think, very high quality. Just a lot of its flaws have kind of shown through time. Some of it I already discussed in my review, such as some of the lines being very corny at times, and Light really stepping up as a misogynist there. And some of the stuff like the DDLC stuff I think is still very cheesy and, borders on not good and bad, I would even say. But overall, I still think the battle is very competent and a very creative idea. It's just that some of the execution and some of the techniques, especially in something like the video, I think, where Eddie's parts kind of show their age a lot more than Ravi's editing. And so as much as I like this battle, I am going to dock it to a light, 9. Next up is Sonia Nevermind versus Tsumugi Kotobuki, and this is probably the first one where my thoughts haven't really changed on this battle since release. It is still pretty noticeably flawed and kind of a nothing burger at times, but it's not necessarily an unenjoyable ride. If anything, it has a couple issues in terms of its pacing and its editing, which I already kind of mentioned in my original review, and stuff like the point of the mask line only ages worse as time goes on. But again, to its credit, I find the battle relatively unoffensive, so I'm just gonna slide it down slightly to a light 5. Morbius versus Black Adam, my not good review. I still kind of stand by it. It's a complete time waster. It's a complete non-starter. And like I said, on its face, it's probably a strong 1 to a light 2. But I think, honestly, the fact of understanding this production has made me feel worse about it, and it still makes me want to stick it in not good. That being said, a battle's production process shouldn't really be part of my judging of it, and that is a lot of why I gave it the not good label in the first place, is because of how kind of unclean it is, even for that extra time it was given. But as a battle on its own, completely ignoring all that, it's just still not that great. So I am going to give it the strong 1 to light 2. Next up is Kyurem versus Indominus Rex, and this is one where, like a lot of Cherry Jacobs battles, you really feel that run time, honestly. It's not even the longest battle, but it always feels like it goes on for a little longer than it should. It's still pretty competent and has a few solid ideas, but it's one of those things where over time it just feels like it falls into the middle of the pack kind of pile more. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just it's showing its age and it's kind of being bled out of its color compared to a lot of the stuff that we see today. So I think I'm going to give it a solid 6. Mr. Peanut versus the Kool Aid Man is next, and honestly, what I'll say is this is one that I'm actually coming around to more now that I'm returning to it. I think this battle is a lot more fun than I gave it credit for. The beat especially is the main thing that sticks out to me as very fun. And the audio is especially what I'm kind of coming around to, as I didn't really appreciate both Felix and Kenny Freestyle's performances as I did originally. I might have thought that they were pretty solid, but now the charm of those performances really hits me a lot more. And especially now that I've worked on one, I kind of see how you can make a animated video not as interesting as like the potential. And Mr. Peanut vs. Kool Aid Man does a pretty good job with making the most out of its animation potential. So I'm actually gonna bump this battle up to a strong 6 to a light 7. The camera angle looks a little different. It's because my phone ran out of storage, but I've deleted years of memories. And now we're ready to get... Fuck it, that's the take. Next up is Spooky versus BRVR by Taiga Tonic. And this battle I've had a weird relationship with in terms of the stuff that I like about it. I am actually kind of growing on even more. It's especially the BRVR side where the orchestrap nature of this battle really comes through, and again, I'm a sucker for orchestrap. And Lavi's performance, I think, are two things that I think are only growing on me as time goes on. The editing is still, like, very well done. It's done by pretty good editors, but the spooky art stuff, as I mentioned, looks weird, and the BRVR art looks downright traced at times. And those are things that I mentioned in my original review, but something that I have thought about and that I've spoken to Taiga to since this battle, and we both agree on, is that the spooky parts feel especially weak. They feel kind of neglected next to the BRVR stuff in this battle, which again is strange because it seems like Taiga enjoys Spooky's Haunted Mansion a lot more. But overall, while this battle is competent, there's just a couple things about it that I think are real lacking. So I'm gonna bump this battle down to a strong 5 to decent 6. Next up is Trollface versus Rick Astley, and this is one where it's just showing its age and it's a product of its time. Violet as the choice for Rick Astley doesn't really work all too well just because of their mic quality, and they aren't really the greatest cast for Rick Astley anyways. And to kind of open up a little more about that part, I think Rick Astley just might not be a good rap battle character. Between this and the Boron battle, it seems like Rick Astley just doesn't have a lot to explore from beyond the never gonna give you up stuff. And sure, they've probably done more stuff, and there's probably more stuff to talk about in terms of them, but not a lot of it translates to being a good or interesting rap battle character. As this battle, it's fine. It's not terrible, but it's only becoming more uninteresting as time goes on. That's why I'm probably gonna bump this battle down to a strong 3. Next up is Lofi Girl vs. Kousei Arima, and I had a massive soft spot for this battle when I first reviewed it, as I really loved its sound and the general vibes of it. With Eddie's Lo-Fi Girl battle now existing, it is more interesting, I think, to discuss this battle in that aspect, because even though Eddie's battle is a better capture of lo-fi, it still doesn't really take me away from this battle and loving the sound that it goes for. Both Ozzy's performance and the beat for this battle are the parts that I really enjoy. The beat especially, I think, is still very nice to listen to, and I really enjoy it, and it can still deliver good emotional beats. That being said, on the topic of those emotional beats, it seems that one part of this battle that I am only growing more conscious to is how the dynamic doesn't really work between Lo-Fi Girl being a very kind of nonchalant character and Kousei being a very like pouring everything out on the table character, both in terms of the material that they diss them on and how hard they're trying to go at Lo-Fi Girl, even though Lo-Fi Girl does not have any material to work with here. But again, I still find the video very captivating. The editing is really beautiful at times, and I love a lot of the shots in this battle. Again, that's probably, like I said in my original review, in part due to the anime just being very well animated, but it's just compiled in such a great way that makes me really understand Ryan's style in terms of being a video editor, and that I think is the biggest praise I can offer. With all this being said, I'm gonna bump this battle down to a light 8. Next up is Henry Emily versus Henry Stein, and this battle only to me further cements my thoughts on Grassman being a very messy creator. Like, a lot of the stuff in Grassman's battles are fairly competent and well done, but you just kind of see a couple slip-ups here and there, and they kind of start to pile on to the point where you really feel like it's having a first draft syndrome kind of thing, where the first draft of everything, whether that's the writing, the recordings, and the video, are the final thing that you see. And again, none of it is ever that bad. It just feels like it could use a bit more supervision and a bit more review from peers around Grassman. And if there are peers around Grassman giving plenty of critique, then I think either they need to be more critical, or Grassman needs to get a bit better at being self-critical and noticing those flaws on their own. It's something that I think carries on to their most recent project, Homelander versus Patrick Bateman, where as good as I think that battle is, it still has a number of very noticeable flaws in terms of places that it could use a bit of cleanup and a bit of punch-up. Like, I think it would have been pretty simple to just do a second take of everything just to make sure that it's all well-directed. So with that being said, I'm going to bump this battle down to a solid 4. And finally, we have Herobrine versus the Mario silhouette. And this score isn't going to change, mostly because it's the newest review, and because any thoughts that I have are either more nitpicky stuff or balanced out by other stuff. I think Jacob's Mario silhouette voice is still a little bit goofy, and probably even more goofy than original, but it's still a fine performance, and it's even more balanced by Tibbs' Herobrine performance, which I'm only growing to love over time. I think Tibbs is the perfect voice cast for Herobrine. And as I thought that the Herobrine parts and the animator showed a bit of scuff and a bit of lack in quality in terms of keeping everything very clean and well produced, I'm honestly only growing more impressed by the Mario silhouette stuff and how Jacob is able to make that video happen. It's honestly, again, only more impressive as time goes on. So yeah, with the strengths and weaknesses kind of balancing each other out as time goes on, I'm going to keep this battle score exactly the same. And that is everything. Hope you all enjoyed this little journey. Here is the, I guess, visual for the old to new scores. But yeah, I'm doing this again because I hope to get Fantano back on track. I have 5 battles, I'm looking at them now, that I am looking to review at some point in time. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all are excited for more Battle Tano. Just the JustGamer Tano forever.